In this video, I'll share 3 key tips of sustainable work practices. But when I mean sustainable, I do not mean sustainable in terms of energy efficiency, but I do mean to sustain our own health, mental health, physical health, and spiritual health as we do the work we do as young architects. Hi, I'm Gabriel. I'm an architect based in Singapore. I aim to increase clarity and confidence in young architects in Singapore and around the world. I've seen many young architects who are like my peers or even juniors and seniors who are no longer in the architecture industry. It's also important for me to share what strategies has worked for me, and I hope that these lessons and insights help inspire you to continue to sustain the work such that you love the work that you do and you're not running on empty. Before I dive into my 3 key tips, I would like to define what sustainable means to me. 1. I'm looking at long-term in terms of not just working towards the next project deadline like a tender or a completion timeline, but I'm looking at long-term in terms of across projects, maybe even across firms, looking at the career path from a fresh graduate all the way to a QP, a qualified person, as well as a continued growth and impact in the work that you do in the architectural practice. The first key tip that I wanted to share with you is about setting boundaries. One of the many things I share with my juniors as well as my peers is to have a work phone. It doesn't need to be a separate phone, but you can have 2 phones. But for myself, what I did is I had an eSIM or a SIM card in the same phone such that I am able to disable or enable certain work profiles in the phone. This allows me to set the proper boundaries and also to establish communication with my client such that they do not disturb me after 6 o'clock. But inevitably, you may need to work a little bit after hours, but setting that boundary such that no one can contact you through phone after 6 p.m. is a lifesaver for me. The next key thing to understand is to understand your own work hours, understanding your hard limits and soft limits to working hours. Inevitably, there will be times when you'll be rushing for a deadline. On these days, you must understand your own personal body and how you're able to tackle the working hours. For myself, I understand that my hard limit, which says time that I set to stop work, no matter what work and no matter whether I can finish the target on time, is like about 12 midnight. Because I know that if you start work at 9 a.m. and you work all the way to dinner time and then you take dinner, and then after that you work for a few more hours towards midnight. Post midnight, I understand that my own body and my own mental state wouldn't be in the right state to properly do the work efficiently as well as accurately. There was one incident when I had to do overtime past midnight and I did a mistake, and I know that next day the mistake has to be overwritten. The time spent to do the work which I did after midnight was actually much faster to be done the following day. So understand your limits, understand your hard working hours. Mine is 12 midnight, yours could be different. And also understand the work that you do. It could be work that requires brain power, it could be work that requires just very simple CADing or even rendering that doesn't require such brain power. So the amount of risk that you take, first of all, is your risk because you're taking your own time, and to do the work depends on the nature of work that you do. Understand the nature of the work and understand your working hours, and to be able to set aside these hours and know when to stop. Next, I would like to share with you one thing that I did as an employee that really surprised my employer with regards to setting boundaries. I realized at one point in time when I was juggling close to 3 to 4 projects at one go, all concurrently waiting for the same deadline, which is next week. I realized that given so many projects that are ongoing at the same time, I had to either delegate, to postpone the deadlines, or even to request for more additional help. So what I did was to do a work forecast matrix. I'll share a template in the description, but this matrix allows me to set in an Excel sheet, let's say for example, project 1, 2, 3, correspondingly to the different weeks in the month. So let's say week 1, week 2, week 3 that's coming. the different tasks within that project that I'm supposed to do, and the deadlines corresponding to each task. With this matrix, I call it the work forecast matrix. This matrix can visually show the employer that you're not trying to skybox, you have a lot of things on your plate, and you really need the help that the company can provide in order to meet the business objectives, such as a tender, such as getting authority approval, such as meeting presentation deadlines, TOP. All of these can clash, and it's really unforeseeable as an employer sometimes, which I totally understand, and which you should understand as well, because not everyone has eyes on all the projects all at once. But the key idea is that you, as an employee, can work out this matrix using my template that I can share with you in the link in the description, and also to identify certain tasks that are not really urgent that can be delegated away, which will bring me to my next point. As mentioned earlier, we're talking about delegation, we're talking about prioritization, as well as understanding the task nature, such that you are able to set the right boundaries and to set the right sequence of work that you should do as an employee at any point in time. I would like to introduce to you the Eisenhower matrix. One axis is the importance, the other axis is urgency. So we're talking about the level of tasks in terms of prioritization and categorization. For myself, I look at 4 different levels. The first level, the most important level, would be very important and very urgent. So these tasks require your attention urgently, as well as it is important for you yourself to do it, because maybe you're the assigned person to do it, and you have the most context, you have the most history of the project for the task at hand. So I'll label this as level 1 task. For a level 1 task, you would like to do it straight away. And given many level 1 tasks, that's when you fine-tune that prioritization. Is it easy to do? Within 2 minutes, if you can do it, do it. If you need more time, you have to schedule the time for it. Level 2 will be important but not urgent. So for this task, it will be a level 2 task such that it's after level 1 task, but level 2 task still requires your own action. And I wouldn't think that you can delegate it away, but such that you're able to schedule the time but after completing level 1 task. For a level 3 task, this is urgent but not important. This task requires urgent attention and somebody to do it. So for these tasks that are not important to you, I recommend to delegate this task to somebody else. And you need to talk to your employer about this, or you can need to talk to your supervisor, such that these tasks must be urgently done by somebody else, because it's not important to you, so why do it, right? Let's say, for example, these tasks doesn't require only your own expertise, but somebody else can do it who has the same level of skills as well as understanding of the project or the task at hand. These level 3 tasks can be delegated to them. For level 4 tasks, this is not urgent, not important. These tasks can be either delegated to somebody else straight away, but you must also tell them that it's not urgent and important, or you can do it yourself, but you put it to the very end of the task list at hand. I don't personally work with apps or systems in my written down tasks, but I do flag emails that correspond to certain levels. I do have a mental understanding of which tasks that I need to do at hand. And to each your own, but I feel that understanding the 4 levels of categories of tasks would allow you to be able to fully understand and be more efficient in your work, and also to set the right boundaries, set the right priority to different tasks, and ultimately achieve them, to complete them one by one. Some ways to identify important tasks could be aligned to your own personal goals, your own career objectives, such as maybe obtaining QP, that you will need to do this task. For example, working on building plans, working on tender specifications. These things that you would like to learn while on the job would be good for your own career progression. If it's things like repetitive work, such as that maybe you're doing rendering again and again, and you know that someone else can do it, why not delegate this work while you do more high value work? And if it aligns to your own project deadlines, such as TOP, meeting your monthly objectives, such as making sure that all the RFI, RFA are cleared, such that there's no outstanding queries from the contractor during the construction stage. These things are important to you, and you need to set a time for it. Moving on to my third tip. The third tip would be to start to seek help when in doubt. But before that, always do your due diligence. Always spend a little bit of time to Google it or to look at references. You can look at what other projects have done or what you have done in the past that can be applied to this current project and task at hand. This due diligence is important not just for yourself, but also for the boss to understand that you have done or spend some time to fully understand the problem. And one of the tips I can share with you is to, when you're going to ask for help, always seek potential solutions. Share with your boss that, I considered this. What do you think? Is this the right way to do it, to go about it? A negative example would be, boss, I had this problem. And then the boss has to think about it and come up with a solution to the problem. This time that you take the boss is very crucial and important, because the boss may have many things on their plate, and you coming with a question, you coming with a potential problem that needs solving. If you do not come with a potential solution A, B, C, the boss has to spend some time to come up with solutions, and that requires him to think as well. Sometimes when you bring the boss more problems, the boss thinks of you as, you're coming with problems all the time. You don't spend a little bit of time to understand the problem and maybe come up with solutions. It could be a very effective discussion when you bring many solutions that you thought about. And while you think about these solutions, the boss, if he's very nice or very kind, should advise you why solution A that you thought about is not really correct, what can be tweaked and fine-tuned. On the one hand, it could be a very fast and efficient meeting. And on the second hand, you learn a lot more when you come prepared. The key takeaway is to know when to ask for help, not just to struggle and suffer, but also to understand what can you do before you ask for help. And this really helps you as a professional, a budding professional, to be competent, to fully understand the problem, to take initiative, and also to have an efficient and effective meeting with the boss to understand the problem and to nail down the solution. After understanding the 3 key strategies that I've shared in this video, one bonus tip that I can share with you is to think about the worst case scenario. What could really happen if you don't do this by a certain time? Then you will know the true reason and the true urgency and importance of the task at hand. A question that I ask myself is, will the building fall when the task is not done? What is the worst case scenario? Will I get fired for this? These questions pop up in my head all the time, and it allows me to understand the urgency and importance of each task and whether I should do the damn thing now. Just a little disclaimer, these insights and lessons that I share with you today are drawn from my own experiences as a project architect. So a project architect in Sepana Jurong runs around different sites across many projects in Singapore, looking towards a post-tender towards completion. And my role as a project architect is to make sure that we get the authority clearances, approvals, as well as working towards a completion TOP, as well as CSC. But along the way, we have multiple maybe RFIs, RFAs, which are requests for information, requests for approvals, and even requests for variation orders, RVOs. I hope that these lessons apply to your own practice, because they are quite easy to understand concepts relating to time management and project management. By the way, I have the podcast series called Architecture Seal, where many of my guests, such as Larry or Lee Xiang, all took different career changes along the way. So if you are struggling in terms of your workload, or even considering to change firms, Do check out my podcast episodes where I talk to them and understand their own journey and their own struggles and how they managed to overcome them along the way. This brings me to the end of the video today. I hope that you've taken away certain key insights and strategies that you can apply to your own workplace. As always, I'm eager to hear about what your views are with regards to sustainable work practices. Do type in the comments your own views as well as maybe things that I've missed out. And if you have applied my strategies, do let me know if that helped you in your own workplace. And as always, to the next video, take care, goodbye.